care even what state or country I'm doing my wedding in, but at least I'm gonna look good.
East Cleveland 3, and this is Clarence Elton. There are many, many boxes on Clarence Elton. This is just one box. So like everyone, it's difficult with the pandemic, having to work remotely, but it hasn't changed our effort at all. The pandemic has increased our work. We had high-risk clients who were innocent, file motions to try to get them out and speed up the court process. Thanks to the support of all of you, we've had 2 exonerations, both that occurred during the pandemic. We have our breakfast every year in May, which is our time we get together and get to see all of you. We appreciate that support we get every year. It's our biggest fundraiser for OIP. Because of COVID-19, we weren't able to get together this year, so we put together this little presentation that outlines what we've done in the past year since we were last able to get together and some of our successes even during this time of the pandemic. It's bad enough to be innocent in prison in any circumstances, but to be in prison innocent and sitting duck for a deadly virus is much worse. The court systems move slow and the virus moves quickly. It's heightened our need for emergency action even more.
I spent 7.5 years locked up behind bars for a crime I did not commit. I served 20 years for a crime that I didn't commit.
I served 15 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit.
I served almost 30 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit.
Being free means the world to me. Being back with my family, being with my wife, my kids.
For them to bring me home, to bring me back to my children and my grandchildren after so many years.
I don't even know those people like you guys. I thought nobody cared. And I said to myself, there's 22 would be on.
I was getting my life back. Now I'm able to celebrate 2 birthdays. The day my mother gave birth to me, and the day that Ohio Innocence Project helped me walk out of prison.
Actually, just a couple of days ago was my 10th year anniversary. When I think about what Ohio Innocence Project did for me, pretty much every time I wake up.
If it wasn't for the Ohio Innocence Project, I believe I'd still be in prison right now.
Records show at least 41 Ohio prison inmates have died of COVID-19.
When the pandemic hit, we kicked it into high gear, filing emergency motions, trying to get the courts to move quickly. We were able to get 2 of our clients out. Sadly, one of our clients who we believed is innocent, Carlos Ridley, passed away because of COVID-19. We have this text thread with everybody in the office. Donald was letting us know that he was in the hospital and in critical condition, and then that he passed. You have somebody who you believe is innocent, who's been fighting just for DNA testing to prove it. The system is so slow that this person ends up dying, never gets a chance to prove their innocence. That's not what we want to see. And so we've done everything we can, and we'll continue doing everything we can to not only bring freedom to our clients, but safety.
More than 4,300 inmates have tested positive statewide, and nearly 500 staff members are included.
Your donations are great and needed in this time that we're going through in the world. They change lives, they save people's lives. I can never thank them enough for what they've done for me. There's no way.
I want to thank all the donors. Thank you for your generosity.
They gave me my freedom back. They gave me my life back. They gave me my family back. They put families and lives back together.
They gave me my freedom.
Keeps at the Ohio Innocence Project.
Unnecessary organization and organization.
Greatest nonprofit the state has.
We should definitely continue to support and donate.
I pray that the Ohio Innocence Project always has the means to save lives.
It's just so important for these donations now at this time.
To be able to give a piece back, it feels so incredible to those who need it.
They're such an important organization. They change people's lives forever.
This is what I love about freedom and what the Ohio Innocence Project does.
The Chris Smith case is a really unusual case for me because it was my wife's case, Michelle Berry.
12 years ago, when Chris got convicted, I broke down, couldn't even get up to leave the courtroom. Chris got taken away. And I got to see him in the county jail later that night. And I promised him that there's no way that I would stop working on the case until he was free.
The prosecutors and police have an obligation to turn over all exculpatory information before trial. They didn't turn over all the DNA results until after the trial was over, which showed exactly what Chris was saying all along, that somebody else is the one who committed this crime.
There's not a single day that I did not think about this case. I thought about all that Chris had lost in those 12 years. His mom died. He didn't get to see her before she died.
Being at her funeral with some jail phone, guys knew what I was going through, and they made noise deliberately to disturb me to stand respect to my mom at her funeral.
I mean, they made noise just because that's what he.
I thought about his children growing up without a father and his first grandson being born while he's still locked up.
No one really told me that my dad was wrongfully convicted. My dad didn't even talk about his conviction or anything like that. It was always, whenever I would talk to him on the phone, he wouldn't even bring it up or anything like that. It would be more of a, how are you doing, son?
How you doing, son?
I'm doing
I love you, man. And I'm proud of you. You should always know that. I just look forward to coming home and meeting you. Coming together in the midst of the time that we have. We have an opportunity at some point to sit down and talk. And you will know who your father really is. You will know that I love you more than anything in this world.
Hearing his voice is one thing, but being with him in person, talking to him in person, doing things with him, that's something that I really want to happen like really quickly. And I also want him to be here to like see the grandson grow up, first steps, first words, things like that.
Soon, he's going to be finally reunited with his family, and finally, this is going to be corrected.
Hey, so Roman ordered his release and he's getting out in a couple hours. Yes, Karan's here. I have to don't call me.
I get to keep my promise to Chris. It's a happy, happy day.
Oh my God. I can't even give you a hug. I know.
Just fist pump my area. I didn't even know he was down here. It's crying.
Yeah, he's here. Yeah, he's. Oh my. Chris.
You're officially in the club, Chris. Your next honoree now. We have your sweatshirt.
Sitting outside, fresh air, wild, chill.
Chris has been an inspiration to me throughout the 12 years.
Soldiers will change lives, change the systems, will save lives.
He's going to want to do great things as someone representing the Ohio Innocence Project.
Well, look at how slowly our criminal justice system moves and how many years it takes us to free an innocent person.
So up here, we're at Richland Correctional now, and it's now Tuesday. We're still waiting for him to be released.
The case is so old that even just figuring out what happened is a challenge. We had to go to the county archives just to find the trial transcripts.
It was one of the worst examples of police misconduct I've ever seen in terms of suppressing evidence.
Isaiah had maintained his innocence 100% for 45 years.
This is Brian Howard. I'm the attorney for.
Okay. Because of the virus, you're not really people right away. So either way, it'll be tomorrow. We just don't know which way to go just yet.
It's doubly tragic to have your wife murdered and then spend 40 years of your life in prison over it.
46 years in prison for murder he didn't commit. The real perpetrator remains free, and here he committed many similar crimes against women in the future that would have been prevented had the right person been focused on from the beginning.
So it's Wednesday, just got word that the last of the house think should be resolved now. So things we have again, this hour or two. I've said that before. It's not like you can make it real. I think actually he didn't recognize me. He comes up. I told him, let's get out of here. And he kind of jumped and he said, I thought you were the warden. I guess because I've been here now, he didn't recognize me with the suit. What was it like walking out that foot?
I'm gonna do that. I'm truly good with it. And I never thought it was there, no. Not injustice is done.
What's it like being like for the first time?
Like your life. Oh, something right.
One of the things that we've always tried to do is give aftercare treatment to our guns because of the development of various forms of PTSD, and they need help sort of reintegrating into society.
This is my story. This is my story.
Donna Mayerson, who's a psychologist here in town and been a longtime supporter of OIP and her family's foundation, the Mayerson Foundation, have been doing fantastic work with therapy, counseling for our clients.
Come in, trouble and trouble, yeah.
A couple months ago, they had a weekend music therapy retreat where our exonerees were able to work with Grammy-winning artists to write songs about their experiences and to really express themselves in ways they hadn't been able to do before. Our exoneree, Chris Miller, his wife Lena, she stayed with him and raised their kids. She had to be mother, father. She had to play every single role throughout his 17 years of wrongful incarceration.
All the days that I have waited, all the roles I had to play.
I just thought it was an incredibly beautiful movie.
Mother, father, sister, friend, and friend. Can I breathe again? Stop going through the motions. Stop all this worrying and breathe again. We deserve to live again. I see your face right in the sand. I know that you want to be. We can breathe.
How you guys doing? Good.
This is called Steve.
Dean Gillespie, it was actually music that got him through the 20 years of wrongful incarceration.
place in this space to kill another day. Trying to pass the time.
Listen to the same inspirational song. Sleep, just to clear out all the crap that he saw from that day from his head, so that he could sleep and start the day anew.
Freedom, sweet freedom, now is it
Songs are the most meaningful things to him.
all I did was stand in line. Doing 20 years.
Now he's been able to come out and tell her story in the same format.
Yeah.
Were any of you guys going to present today, or are you going to do YouTube live, or already present? Okay, cool. And I wanted to put that out there because I don't have all the check boxes here, but luckily we're on the last chapter of the book. So we're all the way to chapter 14. I was looking up one more thing about the Ohio Innocence Project because they were giving updates since coronavirus happened. So COVID made it harder, but they just went electronic. And then with the Cincinnati Law School and then social workers, they've got a few things that they were able to still continue on with people who are innocent on death row. So,
why do I use humor to avoid how uncomfortable? Why do I care so much what people think? If I'm so scared.
interesting. So your final is up there. We've got your final exam. You also, I've opened everything up if you want to turn in your papers, the one that's due tomorrow, and then also like if you're missing anything, everything's open for you guys. So I always do this check-in too, but this is just to make sure you guys finish on time. Did you guys use the check sheet when you registered? So the social work check sheet, it has all the classes you have to take. It's 48 hours that are not social work, and then 49 hours that are social work. And there's 7 for natural sciences and 3. So just make sure who do you guys all have is like a person to help you register? Like who's the advisor? I'm curious. Okay, and she does use this at least.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. That's good to hear because then you finish on time no matter what it is. And have you guys thought of what you want as your internship when you do your senior year? Like you all have to get placed. We have a 400-hour internship that you have to do. And it's 12 credit hours. Any population you wanted to work with, or do y'all want to be social workers? No? Anybody else? Do you know which population you wanted to work with?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
I haven't decided. I don't know. I think I sort of want to be like, if possible, in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they like specify children, young adults, or adults.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And that comes up. Anybody else? You guys in the back.
I thought about a house in the hospital too, but then I don't know. I'm in between working in the hospital and also in a criminal justice.
Okay. And then, so what do you guys want to do when you grow up? You'll graduate in like 3 years and 3 months now almost. Any plans? Do what?
Marketing.
Okay. So how do you guys go about getting an internship or like a job in that?
So the business department has like classes and stuff that they, so people who sponsor them, they actually like do internship programs in the company, so we just sign up.
Okay. And then with our final, remember, it's okay if you didn't want to be a social worker, you just replace the word social worker with like marketing. So like as you're answering them, it's just to get you guys planning for the future. I know we sometimes have, and this happens to us, when we're about to finish, you don't want to finish because you're like, next phase of life. What do I do? What kind of social worker do you want to be? And it can be hard. It's, just kind of figuring it out. And that's what we're here for, just to kind of show you all the options. This last chapter we'll be covering for basically the next week, and then you guys get 10 days off for Thanksgiving. Did you know that? What do you do with 10 days off?
Work.
Yeah? Where at?
Homework.
Homework? Okay. No money making? Texting friends? Or you're writing a paper, I can tell. You're typing so much. That's like a whole 2-page paper, aren't you? Doing the homework. Is there any social work you wanted to practice when you finish? Or do you want to practice social work?
I was thinking about it, but I'm not really.
What's your major? What other majors have you considered?
Psychology, social work, and but right now I'm in ag.
Oh, that's right. Do you guys have to declare by any certain time? Like, are you allowed to be undecided until you're a sophomore, junior, or senior?
Typically, I think it's still sophomore, and then they would like you to decide by then.
Because I've heard we start a new major. It's called interdisciplinary studies, and it's here on the second floor, and it covers like everything. And then you pick like a specialty. So it's kind of just like a generic degree, and then you can go wherever. Cool part about our social work program is it cuts out a whole year of grad school if we stay accredited in February, which we've done everything we can in preparing you guys. Did you know what kind of social work you wanted to do when you grew up?
No problem.
Okay. Any age or population or even addictions, or just
Preferably like middle school, high school.
okay.
Also,
Okay. Right, with the stuff. So really what we were finishing up with on chapter 13. So now this is your book and the last chapter. So we've got adult services and aging services. So for the next week, I know you guys have already seen the Ohio Innocence Project videos and like kind of what social workers and what criminal justice folks do there. Would law school be one if you want to do criminal justice? Who said criminal justice? Would you want to do law school, or is that kind of like, okay. They do have a dual Master of Social Work and law degree at UC. So, and it's only 4 years instead of 3 for the MSW and 3 for the law school. They get it all done in 4. Probably if you go in advanced standing, it helps too. So every assignment's open. If you would prefer to present on YouTube Live, because I know we have some people on YouTube Live here. Markeisha Anderson's there, and everybody for presenting your observation. And then the reason I opened up your final exam for before Thanksgiving is so you can start on it now and take time to reflect and add some sources and citations about, like, what do we want to do in life? That's kind of like the whole thing of college. What are we going to do? And sometimes I feel like college for me helped me push that back, but got me educated and prepared, because you can't just jump in to be a marketer or a social worker right at 18, like Paris Hilton even. Some people can pull that off, but we were just showing in my human behavior and social environment class the stuff on Paris Hilton. So we teach about trauma, and we do trauma with populations that have experienced poverty, and then there's trauma with rich populations. And you guys know who Paris Hilton is? I guess I should ask that first. Not everybody knows who she was, but there is a long documentary about her life and the trauma she experienced as a teenager.
And that's
So,
just-
let's see if I can find it for you. I think it's called like This is Paris. And it is a documentary, but she kind of goes into the trauma she experienced as a teenager, why she's done what she has done. It's like an hour and 45. We watch it in human behavior and the social environment because it goes to show trauma isn't limited to a veteran population or a population that grew up in poverty. Rich people can experience it. All kinds of everybody can. And this is some of the videos that she has. I guess she's getting married this year. She's like 40 or 41. She's been engaged a few times, but she is getting married, and the trauma has affected, her relationships in the long run. And you'll see that with a lot of social work clients, that that's what comes up. She's also on this. Have you guys heard of Peacock? It's like this. I've never seen this. It's a streaming service. I was also showing people during the HIV and AIDS epidemic of the 80s that they've kind of gotten under control. In the mid 90s and 2000s, this Dallas Buyers Club was a true story about a man who kind of got the drugs and the FDA to approve drugs that were proper for HIV and AIDS. So, chapter 14, with older adults, you guys will get the opportunity to work with older adults. Have I ever told y'all where I did my internships as a social worker? Sometimes it helps to hear about all of them because we have like 40 or 50 different ones you can choose from. When I was a social worker, I first worked at a homeless shelter. So Lexington, Kentucky, addiction recovery homeless shelter. And then my second internship was in the master's degree, you do 900 hours. For a bachelor's, you only do 400 hours. I worked doing therapeutic child support for Crony and Clark. So I was young. I was probably, right out of college. I jumped into grad school. So I was 20s. And when I worked at the homeless shelter for older men, it was a little harder, as I felt like I didn't have as much to offer them. But you do. You have your training, you have your experience. So as a social worker, if you work with older adults, here are some of the services for adults. Infertility counseling is a big one. We all know somebody who's been infertile, and it's just like a fact of life. I have a brother and a sister-in-law on one side of the family, and on my wife's side of the family, I have a sister-in-law and a brother-in-law. They were unable to have children, and they wanted children. So the social worker connected them with adoption services. Also, caregiving for aging parents. So this was a big one, especially during coronavirus. Actually, when you get into your graduation days or mid-20s, even to 30s, if you're married and have children, or have children and then aging parents, they call that the sandwich generation, because you're helping take care of your older parents and you got kids right here and you're sandwiched in between the two. And it can be stressful. At hospice, we do have services that are called bereavement counseling. So if you have loss of life or someone dies in the family. Employee assistance is also known as the EAP. You all could have used your parents' EAP if they work for a company that offers it. That usually means 6 free counseling sessions with a counselor, and then you pay like a small copay to finish up if you would more. And then finally, services for military personnel and veterans. So veterans pays almost the most out of all social workers' jobs. So if you wanted to get into something that's like starting at $50,000 and $60,000 a year, and if you get your independent license with the masters, then you get $80,000 to $90,000 a year as a social worker in the VA. Hospitals, if you're a social worker, you also start rather quickly at around 50 or 60,000, but some of them are starting to require an independent license. Do you guys know what pay to expect as a social worker or a marketer? Like what pay would make you guys feel comfortable to jump right into a job? What would make you feel good about it? What's that? Doing a search. You can do that in social work too. But sometimes social workers are shocked, like, wait, we get paid that much or we get paid that little. What would like make you feel good about doing your degree? $12 an hour, $13, $25,000 a year, $30,000 a year. I'm just putting them out there. What's your magic number if you were to get interviewed and like start today? Knowing cost of living too, because that's a big one. Oh, if you have a family?
Yeah.
It's true. You can make less without a family. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like if it's like I'll be fine with between 18 and 20 because I'm only paying for like my house.
Right.
Food for myself.
Correct.
But like with the family, I'm doing that.
Right, and that's it's hard. So fresh out of social work school, I didn't want to do paperwork, so I didn't take the licensure exam, and I worked at a clinic that helped autistic children. I got $24,000 a year. Within that year, I found out from Claremont Recovery Center they would give me a 30% raise immediately if I just got my license. So if you get your license, did you find one in marketing? What are they saying?
The average starting salary is $25,000.
That is about the magic number in a lot, especially in the Midwest. Now, if you're going to like Chicago, New York, and LA, it costs more to live. You know, like when I took that $25,000 a year job, I bought a house that was $110,000 and my mortgage was only $499 a month. Now rent's even more than that. You know, it gets expensive. Any of you guys presenting today? I need to make sure we're doing YouTube live, just knowing that you can turn your, I've opened everything up to make sure you guys get through and pass and do well. So a lot of social work jobs do start 25, 30. If you get your license, maybe 31 to 37,000 a year. If you get a master's degree and a license, 40 some thousand a year. You get an independent license, 45 to 49,000 a year, and then a supervision credential like 50, 55, even 60. VA does pay the most. That's why I always mention them. Hospitals also pay the most. And I haven't had a family until I was able to live off of very little money. In the past year and a half, I've had 2 kids. So it makes it harder. Like even over the summer, I found myself, that's why I picked up the hospice job and sit for hospice overnight, because they do give like $25 an hour to sit for hospice, and some of their full-time jobs start at 50. Apparently with inflation, some new jobs are going up by 10% or 20%. So those are some of the things we have going on. Now, this is an interesting stat because it says a national survey tells us 31% of those over 18 will provide unpaid care. So that could be to your parents, that could be babysitting nieces and nephews. It could be one of many things. So many circumstances require caregiving. In the past, there was like major accidents, other traumas, a death in the family, and like the family pulls together and gets it done. So some of the personal consequences, though, are emotional stress related to the burden of care, and then lost productivity and other employment costs. So like say you're staying up all night taking care of a new baby, and then it's hard to get a lot of the work done, and that's where the loss of productivity is. You're like tired at work or a no-show, things of that nature. Some of the family caregiving social work services provide. So case management is usually where we start at our internships, and when you get your bachelor's of social work and a license in social work, actually anybody with a college degree could bill for case management services through like a Lighthouse Youth Services. However, you do need a license to provide counseling and emotional support. So like a BSW and an LSW, or the 1 year of graduate school that gets you your MSW after graduating from an accredited university. There's also military social workers, so they do counseling and crisis intervention. Anybody here have military family? So anything you could tell us that is unique to military family that might be different than a regular family, or just like brainstorming out loud?
There's a lot of pickup and go. Like,
Look, you gotta move a lot.
yeah, like when my brother first left, like, we thought like, yeah, he's just gonna leave, but no, we had to like figure everything out and like hurry and go. And then like when it's time like to see him, it's like a pick up and go situation because like he gets at certain time. If we're not there, like, he has to be certain places. So like even during like the break we had to see him, like July 4th, we only seen him for like 4 hours, and then he had to hurry up and leave, and then we couldn't see him for like half the time. So it's just like,
So they send off quickly, and you're right. It's
communication is not really good. Like you could text him one day, and like he can't text you for like 3 days after that. So you never know.
right.
Then later you get just like, oh hey, sorry. Like,
Did he get deployed anywhere?
not yet.
Okay. Yeah, that can be hard. So that's why they provide a lot of these counseling services and crisis intervention with military families. Also, even surveying troops to identify problems and issues, and then working in rehabilitation services. Because sometimes if they get injured while training, hurt in a war, there's different things that go along with that. So have any of you guys ever heard of gaslighting before? It became a big word in the past few years, but before then, nobody knew what it was. You know, we were like, what does that mean? Like, what's the... so this is something that some folks get counseling for because it's hard to understand when you're being gaslighted. A lot of times it's in a relationship and hard to figure it out, but this is kind of an awareness project that's trying to show folks what's going on with that. It's just a quick 20-minute one, so I wanted to show you.
Alright, I'll put the coffees, just make sure to get us pronounced correctly. Two cappuccinos, 1 latte, and 1 green tea.
2 cappuccinos, 1 latte, and 1 green tea. That'll be 12.
It's okay. Can I pay you back later? I work literally across the street. Your colleague Sam knows me really well.
No, I'm afraid our company policy doesn't allow that.
Please, the meeting starts in 5 minutes, and my sister
I'm
was
sorry,
supposed to
ma'am.
get
I can't help. And could you please move to the side? You know what? It's okay. It's on me.
Oh, you shouldn't have. Thank you so much.
It's fine. It's my pleasure. I'm Mark, by the way.
Alicia, let me get you the details so I can pay you back.
How about just text me?
Sure.
2 cappuccinos, 1 latte, and 1 green tea.
Bye, Mark. You turn that one around. Like, what a so screwed. Oh, sorry about it. But the look on Frank's face when we got so good. Anyway, tell me about the boy. Oh, yeah. He asked me out on the date. How exciting. Where's he taking you? Apparently, I have to try his signature lobster risotto. How can you talk? I know, right? And he's a rather talented photographer. I checked out his website. Why did you look for an explanation? Okay, can you please stop looking 5 seconds? I know. My mom is constantly on my case about marriage and kids. She says I'll never gonna get a guy. Why would I let yourself let go? That's ridiculous. You really believe the soldiers in it.
Is it loud enough for you guys? Okay. And you want to try the definition of gaslighting to throw it out there for those who don't know? That could be a part of it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's like explaining how you feel about something or an overall situation and then kind of like watering it down or overlooking it. And it's like, no, you're being too much. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can be a part of it too. It's often used by what the DSM would diagnose as a narcissist. If anybody's ever heard of a narcissist or dated a narcissist, and they make you think that you're the crazy one, if that makes sense. So, anybody else on gaslighting? Has anybody not heard of it before? It's okay if you haven't, because, okay. But do any of those explanations help a little? Okay. So it gets interesting just seeing the techniques that are used. And if you're dating somebody who's that way, it's weird.
You look incredible. Come on. So I was going to complain about you being late, but I think with you looking this good, I can find a way to leave.
What do you mean late? I thought I said 8 p.m.
Nope. Last time you saw me, we agreed on 7:30.
Really?
Yep. And I finished my risotto on the dot, so it might be a little cold now.
Gosh, I'm sorry. I must have misunderstood. You know, with work and everything.
That's all right. What's important now is that you're here. One.
Yes, please. It smells amazing, though.
Thanks. Wait till you taste it.
Is that your work?
Yeah. I did an exhibition at the V&A last year. When I finished, I just kept going to my house.
You're really talented.
So people seem to say. Shall we? Oh, so how did that meeting go in the end?
Which meeting?
The only one I know about. The one I helped with the coffees.
Oh, right, yeah. It went great. Well, under pitch, and copies were a nice touch, so we got a deal.
Congrats. Glad I could help.
You know what? Working in marketing, I'm so fascinated with human psychology. It's funny to see how smallest things make big difference.
I feel the same way. It's like in photography, it's the little things, the only things that matter. Wow. Did you manage to get even more boxes? Who would have thought you'd have so much stuff?
I know, right? Well, you should have thought twice before asking me to live with you.
So I was thinking, as soon as you finish unpacking, let's go and celebrate.
Oh, my friend Hannah from New York is in town, and for in 2 years, so we're going out for dinner tonight.
Really? Today's supposed to be a special day for us.
Are you upset? I thought I mentioned last week.
Yeah, I was looking forward to taking it.
You know what? Let me cancel Hannah and you and I can go in.
It's okay. Go have fun.
Hey. Mark, I'm really sorry. The last thing I want to do is hurt your feelings. You know what? I'm really happy I did. I'm so jealous. You know what? I really need to take some time off as well. We should ask Mark to take you on vacation. How's that going anyway? Oh, it's been great. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm very happy. It's just sometimes we get into these silly arguments. Like what? Well, he got really angry the other day when he found that his favorite watch was broken. I don't know. Must have knocked it down while cleaning or something. It's weird. Did you fix it? I think so. It was just the wristband that was broken anyway. But he got so upset. He wouldn't talk to me for like 2 hours. A bit of overreaction. Maybe it was my fault for insisting that I didn't break it. He said he was more upset about that than the actual watch. Still, that's no reason to give you the silent treatment. I think he's just stressed with work.
So that's another dead giveaway, kind of the silent treatment. Yes, we've all had a relationship where people get mad or things of that nature, but if that seems to become a theme, that's a red flag.
How's work?
Oh, great. I didn't get the project.
Aw, it's a shame.
I lost it. I really don't know what's happening.
Well, that's some good news that just might cheer you up. That huge Fendi account. So we should compare next month.
That's awesome.
That's not all. I'm also invited to this huge celebrity party tonight. And you want to come with me?
I don't know. I'd rather just stay here and start working on the next project. It's in 2 weeks' time.
Honey, listen. If I keep getting jobs like this, I'm not going to worry about work at all anymore. Once it's Friday, you need to switch off. Come on, go get ready. We'll head out. By the way, try to take it easy on the alcohol tonight. I noticed you drinking a lot more.
I'm not drinking that much.
Well, there's going to be some important people at this party tonight. Just want to make sure things go well.
Oh, I'll do my best. Why? Well,
There's from everyone. It's a high profile for you know how important it was for you. All you could do is get smashed and flirt with every guy you saw.
well, no, I didn't.
I'm not blind, Alicia. You know everyone was laughing at you, how desperate you were for attention. It's pathetic.
Sorry, Mark. I can't remember drinking that much.
Exactly. You can't even remember how much you drank. I'm sorry. This is the last time I ever take you apart.
I'm just joking. I mean, I took this one. Maybe I was learning. What's happening? What is something? So confused. Maybe you should speak to a therapist. Mark says that you've been off his range for a few weeks.
Oh, like tomorrow? Yeah. He called me asking for advice. He was very sweet. He's concerned for you. Alicia?
Yeah, of course. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Fine. When? Have you seen my hard drive? My presentation's on it.
I think I saw it on the desk.
Oh, got it. Thank you. Okay. Oh. No.
The bar.
Can you help me?
See? You can figure it out. Gotta go. Yeah, that should be.
Oh, okay. I'll see you tonight.
Mm-hmm. Why? It's just out with some friends. Why? Something happened. You been drinking?
Why are you not on the phone calls? Call, text, like 100 times. You don't give a shit about whether I'm worth it.
How many times have I told you lay off the alcohol?
My presentation was a disaster.
So what? It's just a presentation.
You fired me.
Oh no, it's terrible news. I'm so sorry. You know what you should do? You should get some rest. You go to bed. We can just talk through it in the morning. Remember, do you, honey? You've been taking those pills that Dr. Rogers prescribed you. Felicia, you need to keep taking those pills. You're not well. It's getting worse.
Why is that?
Jesus. Drinking again?
You know I'm a fuck off. I call and text you like 100 times, but you don't give a shit about
Oh, stop it, Alicia. Just look at yourself. You're so pathetic.
Fired me.
To be honest, I don't blame them. You're useless. Any sign of trouble and it's straight to the bottle. You're just an alcoholic.
No, I'm not.
I'm just being honest. But you could never handle honesty, could you? Now, look what you've done. You ruined my floor.
I don't care about a floor.
So with some terrible acting, you guys get a little bit of a sense of what gaslighting is, or narcissism that can go hand in hand with alcoholism. There's also one other diagnosis with adults called borderline personality disorder. Have any of you guys heard of borderline before? What do you know about that one?
Like you're on the run, like one day you feel like this and the next day you feel different. I know sometimes people say like they can't recognize people one day and the other day they recognize everyone. It's like swing on that.
And I know for the art visual on the short film, they leave it open for interpretation. But what do you guys think happened? What do you think was going on in that relationship?
Manipulation.
What's that?
Manipulation.
It sure looks like it. What do you guys think? Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, towards the end, I feel like it shows like what her friend heard, and or not saw, but what she heard, because I feel like at a certain point, depending on how long she was with them, she got used to that type of treatment, and so she like changed it in her interpretation. So
Right.
What you saw was what she was thinking happened. And so
Right.
she blamed herself a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, like she was tricked into that she was the sick person and that she was doing something bad or wrong. And anybody else? I know it's tough to kind of dig into those, but those are some of the things you'll get working with adults, which can be tricky, but some folks use what's called reality therapy. With borderline personality disorder, they use one methodology called DBT groups, is dialectical behavior therapy. It was interesting how you could tell he did not want her to work. Why do you think that was? Yeah, if you don't have like financial options, you're stuck. You know what I mean? Like if you don't empower yourself to be self-supporting, now certainly if you have like a loving relationship and things that you both talk about it and you figure it out, it can be okay. One of you may work, one of you may not, but it's not going to be used for like verbal abuse against you or used for like control and manipulation. Because it's a balanced relationship, it's something that's balanced out, and so that's why working with adults is tricky too. Any other thoughts about it? I know it's one of them artsy films, so it's definitely weird, but it makes you think a little bit, like we have even lately on the different campuses I've taught on since 2009, there's more signs that give a chance to call like behavioral health or counseling, or if there is physical aggression or even verbal aggression in relationships to make sure to call that out or help with accountability of it, because it shouldn't come to that. It should be something that's different. It is hard if, for example, growing up, we never saw like the perfect, well, none of us sees the perfect relationship, but doesn't see how to interact with somebody. So it's important if we saw a bad relationship or challenges, what is normal or things of that nature, to hopefully have a social worker or counselor or somebody to be accountable with some of that stuff. Now, with military social workers, a lot of the things you also work with is PTSD. That diagnosis has been expanded to children more recently lately, and that's mainly because PTSD was started just for veterans coming home from like Vietnam War and those who had experienced the horrors of war. But they noticed when children experienced a trauma, they also showed signs of PTSD. So since about 2010, they've expanded some of the diagnosis from PTSD that sometimes it could look like ADHD, but PTSD and ADHD have similar diagnosis characteristics. So it's important to make sure as a social worker to rule out that it's not a trauma, that it's it may look like ADHD, but if it is actually a trauma, you want to treat the trauma and not attention deficit. So that is all that I have for you guys today. Just wanted to give you time to either catch up on any assignment needed. There's one due tomorrow, and then is everybody able to see the final exam too? You won't turn that in till December 3rd, but I wanted to give you that chance to be able to work on it. So if you want to get things done early for this class, that way you have time for your other classes to do the finals. So if you have any questions, just contact me, email, call, stop by the office upstairs, whatever's easiest for you. And have a good weekend. Yeah.